How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine matov u'manayim Shabbat achim gam yachad. Shabbat Shalom, friends. This Shabbat, we conclude the book of Exodus with the double portion Vayakel Pikudei. And that first name, Vayakel, and he gathered. Moses gathered the whole people around the foot of Mount Sinai again after returning from his second stint up on the mountaintop, and instructs them, now that they have all of the detailed instructions, tells the people it's time to start building the tabernacle. Vayakel comes from a beautiful Hebrew root, kuf he lamed, which has a lot of different permutations. It could just mean a gathering, an assembly. It's the root of the word kehilah, which means community. In last week's Torah portion, in fact, that same root is used. There is a kahal, vayikahel ha'am al Aharon. But in this case, it's a gathering of the angry mob around Aaron, begging him to build that golden calf. And in this week's Torah portion, of course, they gather with a very different purpose. This word, this root juxtaposed in our two parashot in these two different contexts, affirms for us the potential power of community, of kahal, to riotously rise up, as it sometimes is wont to do, or as in this week's Torah portion, to come together for a common cause, for a higher purpose, to build sacred space in which God can dwell among us. Tonight, inconceivably, we mark a full year since our world and our temple building has been closed. A year of empty pews here before us in this beautiful sanctuary. A year of singing together only on mute. A year of so much fear and illness and loss. And yet, even through all of it, we also affirm tonight a year of our community, our kehilah, at its very best. A year of new and unexpected ways to study and pray and celebrate together. A year of adaptation, of innovation, of forward future thinking. And for our littlest learners, also a return to our tent-dwelling past. And most importantly, a year of mutual care and support, of countless phone calls to one another just to check in, meals and groceries, prescriptions delivered to members' doorsteps by one another. A year of helping and holding on to one another, heart to heart, even when we can't yet be hand in hand. We pray that very soon we'll be able to gather again safely in person, and all signs seem to point to that in the not too distant future. But for tonight, as we mark this year of COVID, we lift up our voices in praise, affirming that we are still very much together tonight to welcome Shabbat. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine ma tov u'mada'im sheverachim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'mada'im sheverachim gam yachad. In the season of increased light, we take the time, of course, to add our own as we welcome Shabbat. I invite you, if you have candlesticks at home, to join us as we kindle these Nerot LeShabbat, these Sabbath lights. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu
We also take this opportunity to lift up the sweetness of our Kehillah as we bless our fruit of the vine. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kadishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kadsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim Kivanu v'acharta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabat kodecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
L'chaim. Very nice guy in your background, the cutest little puppy. I hope he gets a little Shabbos schnapps too. And I hope everyone, whether you are surrounded in person, whether it's by human companions, furry companions, friends a text away, will join us as we sing out and rejoice in Shabbat, Shir Ladonai, Shir Chadash. Shiru Ladonai, Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai, Kol Haaretz, Shiru Ladonai, Baruch Shemo, Asru Beyom Leyom Yeshuato, Sapru V'Goyim Kevodo, Bechol Ha'amim Nifle'atem, Ki Gadol Ladonai, U'Olam Me'od, Norahu, Al Kol Elohim, Yai Lai Lai, Lai 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 Lai, Lai 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 Lai, Yai Lai Lai, Lai Lai, Yai Lai Lai, Lai Lai Lai, Yai Lai Lai Lai, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Rombamu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Rombamu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Rombamu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Rombamu. Rombamu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Rombamu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. As we prepare to welcome the Shabbat bride and sing Lecha Dodi, we think back over the week that was, the first hints of spring, the warmth. I was out in the garden with our nursery school this morning for the first time in so many weeks. And I invite you to capture in your mind some symbol of that rebirth and renewal, perhaps that you saw or smelled or just felt this week, that you want to carry with you into Shabbat as we welcome it with joy. Lechadodi likrakala Penei Shabbat nekavela Lechadodi likrakala Penei Shabbat nekavela Shamur v'zachor v'nivor achad Ishmi'anu el hamiuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad L'shemo tiferet v'litechila Lechadodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nekavela Lechadodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nekavela Likrat Shabbat lachu v'lachad Ki makor haberacha berosh mikadam dasucha Sof ma'aseh b'machshava techila Lechadodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nekavela Lechadodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nekavela Hitorari Kiva orech Kumi uri Shir tabari Kevod Adonai alayich nikla Lechadodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nekavela Lechadodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nekavela Rohi v'shalom atarabala Gam b'simcha uv'tzahona tochamonei amsagula Lechadodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nekavela Lechadodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nekavela So we take a moment not to turn and talk and schmooze, but perhaps to text or message to send a Shabbat Shalom greeting to those in our community, those in our lives, or at least to mental note who we want to call when we log off. And we join together as not just a kahal, not just as a group, but as a true kehillah, as a community, as we join our voices in prayer, Baruch Hu, our call to worship. Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, 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 yai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai yai lai 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 Baruch hu et Adonai Hamevorach Baruch Adonai Hamevorach Yai lai yai lai 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 yai lai lai lai. Roll into dark roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Yom Malayla, Golel Har Mipnei Choshech, Golel Har Mipnei Choshech, V'Choshech Mipnei Or. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Join me. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha ve'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha b'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha uksharktam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'isharecha Leman tizkaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim lelohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lechem lelohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem emet. Sunday is Rosh Chodesh Nisan. It is the month of Pesach, and it is also the month on the Hebrew calendar that ushers in spring. And I think that we're all starting to feel that. With a few more warmer days, the sun is shining and it feels like new life is blooming in us, just as it is in our natural world. As more and more of us are, God willing, vaccinated and the weather allows us to comfortably gather, we feel the light of that freedom. And so tonight we join now in our Micha Mocha, our constant song of freedom, as we move towards togetherness.
Adonai, mi kamocha nadar b'kodesh, mi kamocha b'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nadar b'kodesh. No Rotahila, no Sefahala, no Rotahila, no Sefahala, Adonai, Yimloch Le'olam Va'ed. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. We pray. Give us a place to rest, O God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us the shelter of your peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. As we prepare for our silent prayer this Shabbat, marking a year, I invite you to take a moment to think about, where were you a year ago? What's that last train ride you took into the city, or that last shopping spree you went on before everything was shuttered? The last group meal that you had before we were all separated, the last time perhaps you sat here in our sanctuary. And as we prepare for a few minutes of prayer and reflection, I invite you to think about, over this last year, how have we changed? What have we learned? How have we grown? And where do we hope to be a year from now? Shalom Rama Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rama Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech hador L'chol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech hador L'chol hashalom. Shalom Rava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael. B'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלום המלאכה. Shalom Rava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
As we mark this year of COVID, we do so with mixed emotions. There has been so much lost. Over 2.5 million people have died worldwide, and while so many have blessedly recovered, there are some who will be dealing with long-term effects from having COVID for a while. What we mourn, though, isn't just the physical loss of life. We also hold sadness for weddings canceled, jobs lost, women who had to bring new life into this world without their partner by their side, learners of all ages who spent their entire academic year online, and frontline workers who didn't feel safe enough to go home to their families after doing everything that they could to make sure that the world was a safer place for the rest of us. We feel that pull towards others, the deep desire for human connection, but yet we must pause before we get close to another. I read an article that said the relationship that was most dropped during this year of COVID was that of the acquaintance. For the people closest to us, we have stayed in touch and maybe even strengthened those relationships after hours on FaceTime and Zoom. But we've lost the casual interactions with people. What I wouldn't give right now to be enjoying Carol Sharp's deviled eggs and all of you in the lobby at the Oneg before the service. We also recognize in our isolation there has been a rise in anxiety, in depression, and in suicide. We are all experiencing grief, loss, and burnout. With all of that heaviness in our hearts, it is hard to imagine how we emerge from the safety and security of our homes. One of my favorite Talmudic teachings is that when a funeral procession and a wedding procession meet at an intersection, the rabbis insist that the wedding couple go first. In our tradition, we have the utmost respect for those who have passed and We choose to step forward with hope and optimism for the future. As we gather tonight, we remember the losses of this last year, and we also honor the ways we have grown, where we have found joy, and what has brought us strength. Rabbi Michael Bernstein wrote a beautiful piece on how we measure this year of COVID. He used the powerful imagery from the song Seasons of Love from the musical Rent. I would venture that many of you would start singing along if I started 525,600 minutes, 525,000 moments so dear. Don't worry, we'll sing the rest of the song now that it's playing in your head. Bernstein continued, the power of the lyrics of Seasons of Love, written against the backdrop of the visceral terror of the AIDS crisis, is that the calculation of minutes is not sufficient to measure the year. Instead, it's in the moments like sunsets, midnights, and cups of coffee, not time, but relationships, in emotions and opportunities, and inevitably in loss. I have seen so many posts in the last week or so of people sharing their reflections about where they were last year as the stay-at-home orders came out, or about the fear of going to the grocery store and seeing those empty shelves. I firmly believe that this is one of those life-altering events in which we will all have a memory of the moment everything changed because of COVID. I've also seen some really powerful posts with meaningful reflection sharing what this last year has meant for individuals. Because ultimately, when we measure in love and not time, we change our perspective and we reflect differently. As Rabbi Frankel kind of prompted earlier, perhaps you're reflecting on all the things that you have done this year. Maybe how many miles you've run, how many books you've read, or how many chalot you've baked. While this might feel like a stam list of actions, here's how I read them. Miles run are honoring your commitment to your body. I was in a conversation yesterday with a friend who is celebrating a full year of running every single day, a new COVID hobby. And it didn't matter how fast or how far she ran, but it became such a powerful thing for her. Books read are honoring your love of the written word. It's a way to keep your mind active and to sometimes lift yourself into a different time or place, which sometimes we all need. It's also a way to stay connected, and let's be honest, COVID wasn't the only thing that happened this year. And there were some incredible books that helped spark meaningful conversations on really difficult topics. Chalot baked are honoring your connection to Jewish time. After days and days and days and days on Zoom and not leaving the house, time started to feel meaningless. But then Shabbat would roll around, and it grounded the week. Baking challah is a way to bring nourishment, ritual, and perhaps a little fun into an otherwise stale sense of time. We turn back to Torah for our final reflection. When we close a book of Torah, we say, Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek. Be strong, and may we be strengthened. Commentators throughout the centuries have wondered why we call for strength 3 times over. I love this drash from Rabbi David Levy, and it speaks so beautifully to this moment. He says, Chazak, be strong. In thinking about strength, we encounter challenges, obstacles, and pressures, and to be strong, we need to have ourselves grounded in something that gives us roots. Chazak, be strong. This points to our relationships. We are strong when we have people we can count on. Our families and our communities are deep sources of strength. And finally, v'nit chazek, may we be strengthened. We must strengthen one another. We are stronger together, and that is always a gift. This is indeed a moment of hope and light. It is also a moment of healing, because this year has been so much to every single one of us, and we hold space for that tonight. We're especially holding in our hearts in this moment of healing Bonnie Davis, Nancy Goodman, Lori Weinberg, Barbara Curtis, David Goldstein, Stanley Tereski, Bob Glassman, Marty Feldner, Andy Rosenthal, Patricia Zapata, Avram Yochanan Dov Lesser, Louis Siegel, Nate Moskowitz, Ari Fox, Keith Schoen, Barbara Peabody, June Foreman, Paul Wiggins, Jody Kahn, Joseph Spinelli, Lawrence Cohen, Susie Wolfson, Antonia Nolita Ciapola, Harriet Katz, Pat Ryan, Samuel Phillip, Jerry Golner, Ian Spear, Terry Rossman, Julie Ross, Deb Margolin, Paul Stampleman, Scott Siegel, Greg Kellner, Daniel Foley, and George Simonoff. We take a moment now to share the names of loved ones in your family, in our community, maybe even yourself, that is in need of healing. We take a deep breath and offer this blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Rofeh HaCholim. Blessed are you, Adonai, healer of the sick. As we continue to move through this wilderness, emerging from a year that has been a lot, may we find strength in the hope and the optimism for the future. Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek. Be strong, and may we always be strengthened together.
Amen. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy, will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy. As a reed that Verina Ixoro as a reed that Verina Ixoro. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy, will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy. Can you hear Ratzon? May it be so. Friends, we turn to the concluding portion of our service, Aleinu L'Shabach. Aleinu L'Shabach L'Adon HaKol, L'Tikdu L'Liatzer Reshit, Shelo Asarik Le'Ha'aratzah, Ve'lo Savanu K'meshpachot HaHadava, Shelo Sav Chalkenu Kahem, Ve'gahor Alinu Kechol HaMorhav, V'anachnu Korim, U'mishtachavim U'modim, Lefnei Melech This past Shabbat, one of the many victims that COVID-19 claimed was an extraordinary Jewish poet, a woman named Stacy Zissuk Robinson, who was also involved in the Jewish music community, who wrote dozens and dozens of just exquisite poems and prayers, modern liturgy that is used across the country, including this adaptation of the 23rd Psalm, a poem for the grieving that she wrote to bring comfort to others several years ago, and which many of her readers turn to now in comfort this Shabbat. She writes, "And so I will lay you down in a field of grass, serene and gray, bending gracefully with the wind, and shadowing a hidden twisted path that leads nowhere or everywhere, back, forever back, until I stand again at this place, this field of fearful beauty. I will lay you down, aching with weariness, a hungering desire for your touch, your light, your laugh, that is incandescent and pure, and restores me and comforts me and feeds my soul. I will lay you down and weep and be made holy, sipping from a cup that overflows with my grief. But I will lay you down and I will dwell forever, sheltered only by the memory of you." In the past 30 days, we also have a number of loved ones in our temple community who have been laid to their eternal rest and for whom we observe a period of shloshim. Suzanne Bond, aunt of Philip Honstein; Lynn Kramer, mother of Michelle Sloan; Richard Berger, father of Julie O'Shea; Carol Schaefer, mother of Joe Brody; Dr. Mark Citron, brother of Monique Citron; Edward Fearer, father of Jody Hurwitz; Michael Bagel, brother of Colin Bagel. And though the funeral will not take place till Monday, we are mourning too the loss of Elizabeth Friedman, mother of Roseanne Amoyles. We, of course, think too in this moment of memory of all those individuals for whom we observe a yahrzeit this week. We remember them with love and reverence. David Mansell, Henrietta Gossett, Caroline Dorff, David Schur, Henry Freed, Cy Krevlin, Gary Mash, Leo Rosenthal, Lily Selch, Hannah Marks, Maxwell Oakes, Fayvel Murmy, Edith Weitzner, Shirley Heyman, Joe Butler, Ray Cohen, Alice Levine, Samuel Bernstein, Abraham Miller, Edward Cohen, Louise Kalman, Morris Feller, Arthur Alterson, Sophie Cohen, Pauline K. Levy, George Grossman, Joseph Lovestock, Ralph S. Marks, Margot Bernstein, Clara Haas, Margie Steinberg, Ernest Bing, Bernard Korn, Faye Kaufman, Stephen Weiss, Regina Cholette, Rose A. Solomon, Eugene Myers, June Block, Henry Slavin, and Charles Rubenstein. And if you are thinking of someone who's either died in recent days, at this season, in years past, or just whose name you carry in your heart each and every day, I invite you to whisper that name out loud as well. Zichronam livracha, may their memories forever be a blessing as we join together, honoring that memory in the words of Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach yurtei ve'amlich malchutei, B'chayachon u'vyomechon u'b'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala u'vizman kariv ve'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal Shemei Dekudasha b'richu. La'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to Israel, to all those who mourn, and to the entire world, as together we say, Amen. I want to invite up our past president, Stacy Chervin-Sigda, to share some greetings and announcements.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's so good to see you. It's so good to be with you. And on such an anniversary, my goodness, a year of this solitude, of this technology, of this something different. But I got to tell you, the technology has been wonderful tonight because I've been belting it out, and I'm really glad you didn't have to hear that. But so wonderful to be with you all tonight. A couple of announcements. First of all, thank you so much to Rabbi Frankel and our rabbinic intern, Erin Binder, for such a beautiful service. It really means so much to us every week that we come together and that we have a chance to say Shabbat Shalom. Rabbi Serkman will be teaching Chavar Torah tomorrow, so please join in. And Mazel Tov to Nate Coolish, our bar mitzvah. Many congratulations. We can't wait to learn Torah from you. It's your special day, and we are very grateful for that. On Sunday, there will be the women's mini retreat that we've all been looking forward to. So be there. It's going to be wonderful. And then on Sunday, April 28th, is the second Seder with Larchmont Temple and Straight Gate. Please remember to sign up. This is going to be a very special event, and we all want to share our second Seder together. Another announcement is the Westchester Jewish Center is honoring our own Michelle Metch on March 16th at 7:30 p.m. with the Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award. We are so proud of Michelle, and we all want to be there with you, Michelle, whether in Zoom or in person or in heart. We are so honored and we are so gifted to have you a member of our temple. Then lastly, on Saturday, March 20th, there's the cultural arts events, the Solomon Diaries, featuring our own musicians, Sam and Nathan. I wanted to thank Jonathan and Sam for their music tonight, for making our service so special, and we look forward to our cultural event on the 20th. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Yes, I hope everyone could hear not just the beautiful piano of Jonathan, but Sam's rocking the clarinet over there, adding some extra Shabbos joy. So I hope you'll belt it out just like Stacy's been singing as we join in our closing song, the classic from Rent, Seasons of Love. $525,600 minutes, 525,000 moments so dear, 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year? In daylights, in sunsets, in midnights, and cups of coffee, in inches, in miles, and laughter, and strife, in 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year in the life? How about love? How about love? How about love? Measure in love, seasons of love, seasons of Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.